Good evening and a very warm welcome back to my home here in Dubai. Guys, tonight I'm going to be flying with Singapore Airlines across to Singapore on exactly the same flight that I did a few months ago. The big difference tonight, I'm going to be flying in their economy class on board their A350. It's one that I've been looking forward to for quite some time, so come along, it's going to be a good one. Well, as ever, it was the trusty Uber down to Dubai Airport. Should mention, if you are travelling from Dubai Airport, the terminal overview is actually really easy. Emirates go from Terminal 3, Fly Dubai, the budget carrier, from Terminal 2, and all other airlines Terminal 1. So it was Terminal 1, as ever, that I was departing out of on that particular evening. Check-in on that particular night was an absolute dream with Singapore Airlines. They had a business class priority lane, but to be honest, even in the economy lane, I was only waiting for 2 or 3 minutes before then checking in and getting through. With the winter evenings almost upon us here in Dubai, there's always the scene for some really beautiful sunsets, and it was that kind of time of day as I transferred over to the terminal area. Now, flying economy, I embraced the full economy experience on this particular evening and did a tour of the restaurant facilities. With the terminal now fully reopened up post-COVID, there's a huge amount of different options on display to satisfy whether it's Eastern or Western cravings that you have. Despite there being some slightly more higher end options available, I only had one thing in mind on that particular night. I was embracing the whole economy experience and went to McDonald's on this particular occasion. It was a nice way to start the evening, particularly for those of you like me who are big lovers of the food. The time passed incredibly quick and it was soon time, however, to head down to the gate to meet my A350 for that particular evening and check out this newer economy class product on board. You always know when you're boarding a Singapore Airlines aircraft, the crew are incredibly welcoming, so warm, and it's always nice to be back. As I went through past the new business class cabin, it was then time to jump to the back of the plane where I was to be seated on that particular evening. The seats are laid out in a 3-3 configuration. Do have to say they look quite slim and they certainly feel it when you're in the seats. It felt ever so slightly claustrophobic, particularly with people sat next to me as they were on that night. Have to say though, legroom was very good indeed. I thought the multi-pockets in the back of the seat was quite a cute feature and certainly something that I enjoyed using. In addition to that, there's also a drinks rest feature in the back of the seat. You are seeing that more and more nowadays on modern economy products. In addition to that, there was also in-seat charging, which worked nicely as well. Overhead, no air vents. I know that'll be an issue for some people, but not so much for me. So with all that said, it's now time to push back.
As the safety equipment on this aircraft may differ from that on other aircraft, please give us your attention.
For av geeks like me, there's nothing quite like the Singapore girl safety video. I think as a figurehead of the airline, it's a really, really nice touch and something that is absolutely timeless as well. As we taxi out to the runway, a quick call out for the channel. YouTube recently told me that just 1.5% of you watching my videos are currently subscribed. Despite the channel being very new, it has a whole heap of different points of content, including this particular airline's business class product just a few months ago. If you'd like to stay up to date with the channel, just hit that subscribe button and it'll be great to have you on board. As we took to the skies, it was very much time to settle in for what was going to be a fairly late night flight over to Singapore. Despite the humidity, it was a pretty special departure out of Dubai with even quite an impressive laser performance on the Palm. With it being an evening departure, it was very much time already for a second dinner. It wasn't long before the pre-drinks were served and also some snacks just ahead of the main meal service. On that particular evening, I very diligently recorded all of the menus, but sadly deleted them just a few days later. So here's an excerpt from the website based on the menu that was served on that particular evening. I opted for the red Thai curry, didn't go with the breakfast menu the next day, but that was also something that was served just a few hours later. I have to say, overall, top marks for the food. This was very much in line with the best economy catering I'd ever had, right the way from the main meal through to the dessert. It was all really very good indeed. The crew then came past a little bit later and offered some further drinks. That's particularly where that drinks rest came in handy, and I would say very much 10 out of 10 for an economy meal service. On the entertainment front, I've always been a big fan of the Singapore Airlines system. You can even create a login for this, so it will save any previous content that you've watched, almost like a bit of a Netflix profile, etc. Overall here though, choice really good, and the quality of screen, as you'd expect from something so new, very good indeed. There's also a range of different Wi-Fi options. Many of these are complimentary, and it does depend a little bit on your Chris World status and also perhaps class of travel. If you're not part of either of those programs, or perhaps not sat the correct side of the wing, as I always say, there's also a range of different purchase options. I think for the cheaper, shorter usage, they're very good. For anything much more beyond that, I find it a little bit expensive. Following as good a sleep as I'm ever likely to have in an economy seat, it was then time to start our descent into Singapore, where an absolutely gorgeous morning awaited us. From my side, I won't ramble on too much about the pros and cons of Singapore Airlines, only to say that they are certainly up there with some of the absolute best products in the world, and I look forward to doing some more comparison-based videos in the future where I'll compare them to the likes of Qatar Airways and Emirates, who are also considered in the same esteem as well. Otherwise, and as ever, thank you so much for watching this video. Those of you that are new to the videos, you'll find an awful lot more on the channel as well. And if you did enjoy this particular one, do feel free to drop it a like. It does really help the channel. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.